I'd written my book, The Emperor's New Mind, thinking that it might stimulate young people to do physics. That's what I hope. All the letters, pretty well all the letters I got from old retired people, which I think was a bit of a come down. But I got a letter from this crazy person, I thought at first.
And this is Stuart Hameroff?
This was Stuart Hameroff. And he had the view that consciousness had to do with, not with nerve transmission, as everybody else seemed to think, but as in terms of microtubules, these little tiny structures, much, much smaller than nerves. So we got together and did things. We didn't quite know what we were doing. There are certain rough edges to that argument which need to be thought about, but the general argument is still what I believe. Whatever understanding is something which must be beyond computable physics.
And if you think consciousness is non-computable, does that mean that you think it's beyond what science can discern?
Not necessarily beyond science, no. It's just not beyond, it's beyond current science. My claim is much worse, much more serious, much more outrageous than that it's quantum mechanics in the brain. People say, oh, quantum mechanics in the brain, it can't be that. That's worse. I'm saying, no, it's not quantum mechanics. It's where quantum mechanics goes wrong. It's a theory which we don't know yet.
Right.
I would say that of the mainstream views about what consciousness is, I don't know, there are about 4 of them. And one of them is us. That's a bit of a shift. There are also experiments now looking at effects to do with quantum effects and to do with effects of general anesthetics. And there do seem to be some connections there. So it's coming into the area of experimental confirmation or refutation. So I find that exciting.
You've spent decades, obviously, thinking about the structure of the universe, thinking about consciousness, and really, I guess in that respect, what it means to be human and to think about the universe. So I was wondering whether any of this sort of comes together and gives you any sense of whether there's inherent meaning in the universe for you. Does it make you in some sense spiritual to think about those kinds of things?
Well, it's a difficult question to answer, mainly because I don't know the answer. I don't believe in any religion I've seen. So in that sense, I'm an atheist. However, I would say that there is something going on which might resonate with a religious perspective. But I think the presence of consciousness, put it like that, is not an accident in a certain sense. And it certainly has connections with the view that people often have, that you've got these constants of nature and nobody knows where they come from, and if they didn't have the particular values that they have, then we wouldn't have maybe interest in chemistry, we wouldn't have life. I find that a little bit of a difficult argument to make clear, because we don't know what kind of, if the numbers were different, what kind of a thing might call life. There is that question about CCC. Do the not constants of nature get jumbled up each time you go around into the next eon? It's an interesting question, which relates to a paper which I did write with one of my collaborators, Vahe Gurzajan, where we look for signals coming from the previous eon, mainly the collision between supermassive black holes, and they produce gravitational wave signals, which we should be able to see the implications of in our eon. And the claim is we do. Again, people dispute this very much, but I think they're pretty strong arguments that there's something going on there.
So in some ways, the purpose of physics is to be able to communicate with the next generation of universes and warn them to behave better than we have.
Behave better than we have, yes. That might be it. Yes, sure. Take our civilization. I'm not all that optimistic that we're going to go on for a huge length of time. I mean, the probability that something will trigger a nuclear catastrophe is not that tiny. In fact, I think we're pretty lucky to be around now. But maybe other civilizations will be more sensible than us, settle down. I think some version of SETI, looking for different civilizations, maybe we should look at the really successful ones, which would be very late in the previous eon. That's maybe more promising in some respects. Maybe maybe others, produce a very, very advanced civilization which will learn how to send signals into the next eon. Probably gravitational wave signals are the best bet. I had thought in terms of very, very low frequency electromagnetic signals, which might get through too. It might be there's something saying, don't do that, you stupid idiots. That's what we're doing. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's quite possible.